Hey, how you doing? This is Luke. I'm gonna make a video today that's gonna sort of just cover stuff that I've been thinking about lately and my perspectives on different things. I spoke with my girlfriend and she suggested that I start to maybe do video journals and stuff like this about spiritual topics that I'm thinking about and try to get it off my chest and maybe put it on YouTube and maybe people will find it interesting or can relate. She seemed to think that my perspective and the stuff we talk about is relative to a lot of people. Um, One thing that we touched on today that really resonated with me was the idea that sort of the way in which people try to define God in a very crystalline sense and try to expound that notion to others, try to export their idea of God or the way they understand their higher power and sort of try to export it to others. One example that we were talking about was people that times within the Bible where it'll say that if you're not a Christian, you're not saved by Jesus Christ, that you're gonna go to hell. So when I was growing up, to me, I questioned that every time I got the chance. I mean, I would go to my parents when I was a kid and say, "So you mean Gandhi went to hell?" You know what I mean? Like all the Muslims and all the Buddhists and Mormons and every other religious denomination that's not specifically Judeo-Christian, the Jews, everybody is going to go to hell. And they told me, emphatically, yes, that's exactly what it means. And I mean, based on my own personal interaction with my higher power, I think that that's nonsense. I mean, that's got to be nonsense. That idea, it stems from a place of people wanting to control others. Some of the rhetoric that's in the sort of, I hesitate to say old books of, you know, secular religious teachings like, Islam and, Christianity, uh, uh, you know, the Jewish holy books, the Old Testament basically, and their Torahs and stuff. The, I mean, some of the stuff in there, coupled with things like incursions from different kinds of faiths that grabbed up the teachings, the books, the philosophies, and then made them their own and built empires behind them, basically. I mean, things like don't question your government are espoused in religious teachings. Don't question your leaders, your government, your church. So by that logic, are we not supposed to question Stalinist regimes or fascist dictatorships or just blindly accept whoever's in charge because they're ordained? I mean, that idea of like divine ordainment into like kinghood and being in the role of leadership because it's God given is nonsense, total nonsense. And I think that empathizing with others is a big part of human interaction and is a big part of your interaction with your higher power. Your higher power empathizes with you. She, God understands your life, your plight, your spirit. You have to have a genuine connection with your higher power. You don't get a genuine personal connection with your higher power by reading the Bible or by just reading the Quran or just reading the Torah. You don't. You have to develop that personally, and nobody in the entire world is going to tell me that I don't understand my relationship with my higher power because I didn't believe that all people that don't accept Jesus Christ are going to go straight to hell. That to me, that's not something that my higher power would engage in. And the retort to that argument is, oh well, you're not God, so this is what it says, so you're wrong. And I think that's a very human perspective, to sort of, especially espouse to others and say, you believe what I believe, or you're going to hell. You're good, eternal damnation for you if you don't believe it the exact way I believe. And I was raised very Judeo-Christian, so my perspective is extremely Christian. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ, and that kind of was the way I was raised. So that's the leaning of my the crux of my understanding of my higher power. But as I've transitioned more through my life, things have happened to me that aren't coincidence, that have shown me that that's not my higher power. That's not God to me. God doesn't interact with me that way. That whole "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name." I'll try to pray like that, and it's just immediately I get this message of just shut up, just shut up. That's not right. That's nothing. I feel like that chanting at God and trying to, you know, articulating your thoughts into prayer is sometimes very beneficial. But for me, I think that I just try to shut up and commune for a second and just sit in silence. It's almost like I just surrender to my higher power and try to let the universal force, consciousness, God, move through me to get done what He wants through me. And there's a real strength in that. That's not mine. It's not. It doesn't come from a place of my own ego. It's outside of me. I, the Buddhists describe consciousness as, and the ego specifically is, the ego is like a man on a boat on a river, and you perceive yourself as the man on a boat on a river, but really what your consciousness really is the river, just a flowing stream of consciousness, and that's what you achieve sort of through meditation and conscious contact with your higher power, God, the Creator. It's also, we find in neurological study that that's the way that the human mind actually flows. That ego is actually an illusion of the mind, which was something that Buddhist monks always teach in meditative practices, that your ego, your self-image is an illusion. And neurochemically we find that not only is that true, but it's the way that the mind properly functions is to be fluid and to not singularly or secularly define itself, because the connectedness of the humans and the universe in general, people, is just ubiquitous. Everything is interconnected and one, and leads back to source. So when you allow that consciousness to move through you, you can really be an arbiter of, I think, genuine information, genuine compassion and caring and strength. That's again, not really your own. It's just you're a vessel for the real God that's out there, and He's not defined by any of our interpretations. We can't know the mind of the Lord. We can't define Him. We can't quantify God. And if you can't do that, how are you going to explain to others how they should feel about God, or how they should perceive Him, or even how they should begin? I think the best way to say it to somebody is you just need to just be willing to shut up and to realize that you don't know it all, and that your ego is an illusion, and that you need to open yourself up to the higher power that is going to reveal Himself to you, because God longs for a personal relationship with every one of us, not us dictating to Him who we are or how we're going to interact with Him. It's a personal relationship. It's a give and a take, kind of, as in we take things that we need, as far as the idea of God working and living through you betters you as a human being. It makes you stronger as a person. It makes you a more genuine and clear person. I feel a lot of clarity from this, and I feel like, usually I kind of try to listen to my inner monologue, and which I've sort of subscribed the idea of, like, okay, that's like the angel on my shoulder, the devil on my shoulder. And the angel on my shoulder doesn't object to anything I'm saying here, and I was raised very Southern Baptist, so I got a lot of the fire and brimstone preaching when I was a kid, and I don't feel that was the correct way to, especially endear a child to a personal relationship with God, but to endear anybody else. So that's my vlog today, and I'll make another one for you guys tomorrow. Thank you. This is Luke.